Hello, this is Erin with the Joy in Pens and Paper, and it is time to do a fresh month of currently inked. I feel like this month was a little bit of a struggle in terms of picking the inks that I wanted to use, and also maybe even a little bit the pens that I wanted to use. I think I was pretty definitive on a few, but I really went back and forth. And so at this point, I am just making a decision. I spent some time this morning flipping through my swatch book and really trying to think about whether I wanted to be matching or whether I wanted to use bottles or stick with a brand or stick with a specific color family. And what I'm about to show you is what I've come up with. So I am interested in knowing if anyone can guess the general theme, because there is one. And I have left some breadcrumbs previously of what my thoughts were. So if you know it, leave it in the comments, maybe even do a timestamp so I can see some people who maybe guessed it from past videos versus some people who guess it as I go through. Excuse me, little sneeze. Okay, so the first pen that I will be using this month is the Bennu Euphoria in Iced Caramel Latte. This is a Goulet Pens exclusive colorway from Bennu. They had a mini series of a few different beverages, and for me, this specific look is a little bit more kind of my preference or my vibe. I love the new pens. I love their nibs. I love how they write. I am just not somebody who loves really flashy colors. So, unfortunately, a lot of their colorways or designs are not ones that I am itching to get, but I love writing with the Bennu. So, I hope, and I check, but I hope that they have a little bit more of a neutral variety just sprinkled in along the way. And those I will be a little bit more inclined to purchase. So I am using a Galen Leather Co. Everyday Notebook with Tomoe River paper in it. I have this little guide underneath to help me write in a straight line, which is going to be more aesthetically pleasing for me. So let's get to swatching. I want to try to do a little bit of a larger swatch patch in my currently inked videos just to really show off the properties of the ink. I'm also going to zoom in just a little bit and adjust. All right, so this is, as I said, the Bennu Euphoria in Iced Caramel Latte. With a fine nib. I purchased this secondhand from Charmaine Duloc, another YouTuber. She occasionally will sell her pens. I happened to get this because it was secondhand or pre-loved. It was cheaper than buying it brand new, and at that time, Goulet was running out of this quickly, so I went ahead and snagged it. And I'm very pleased having it secondhand, that it is working out just fine. Sorry, I'm noticing that that's a little blurry. So this is inked up with Sailor Mizutama. This is a sample that was shared with me from a viewer. and fellow YouTuber, Diana. Pretty sure it was Diana. Apologies if I got that wrong. I do try recall a lot of that from memory, and I am not a perfect person. The next pen, no surprise if you have seen other of my currently inked videos, is the Pelikan M400. So far, I have not found an ink that I don't love in this pen. And this is inked up with Sailor, Manyo, Shirakashi. Now I do have some additional papers that I have pre-swatched these inks on that I will show at the end to compare these swatches, these inks on different papers. So stick around. All right, next up, this is this is one of the newer pens in my collection. I got this on a super sale. This pen is $160 normally, and I paid $72 and change, something like that, 75, somewhere around that. So that was a really, really good sale. This is a Laban. The color green is Forest, and this has an extra fine nib. Now both the Laban and the Banu have iridium tipped nibs, and I really enjoy writing with an iridium, there's an M at the end, tipped pen. So this is inked up with Sailor Urameku, Suki Gokuro. Now this ink goes down kind of a teal color, and then it dries this kind of a reddish brown. It has a little sheen, little tiny sheen to it. That probably would be more pronounced if I was using a broader nib. Next up is a Waterman Karen in amber. So it's this beautiful kind of Merlot reddish brown color. Waterman Karen amber. This has a fine nib, and this is inked up with Sailor Urameku, Hana Gokuro. Beautiful. All right, and next up, let me just move this up a tiny bit, is my Pilot Vanishing Point. And this is in the white and black. I call this my Stormtrooper. This is one of my oldest fountain pens. There's a little nick right there. There's all the wear and tear from the click feature right here. This used to be black, and now it's all worn silver. You can even see some wear right there. A little bit of wear on the rings here. So this is exceptionally well loved. because I'm doing a larger swatch, just trying to make sure that I don't pill the paper when using a very fine nib. So that's where a lot of the spaces are going to come in. This is an extra fine nib, and because I've had it for so long, I think the tines of the nib actually started to separate a little bit, or the writing wasn't as fine as it used to be. So I actually got this ground a little bit extra finer, or more extra fine, when I went to a pen show almost 2 years ago. So this is inked up with Sailor 50 States, New Hampshire. Beautiful. And last is the newest pen to my collection, one that I received for my birthday, and I do have a video on it that's been viewed quite a few times. Yay. This is the Sailor Pro Gear white and pink gold, and this has a fine nib. The nib is 21 karat gold. So it has a itty bitty tiny little bit of give to it, so you can get a little tiny bit of flex if you're intentional in your writing. And much like the vanishing point, this is such a fine nib that I'm just being mindful not to pull at the paper. Sailor Pro Gear white, pink gold, fine. And this is inked up with Birmingham Pen Co. Blast Furnace. So if you haven't been able to guess yet, my theme this month is Sailor September. That is not my original theme. I was watching a video by Manda B, or Ink Splat, here on YouTube. I'll try to tag her in my video. I want to give credit where credit is due. She mentioned a number of weeks ago considering a Sailor September. I love alliteration. I thought that would be a great idea. I have a lot of kind of blues and purples in my Sailor ink collection, and part of my struggle is I didn't necessarily want to write with those colors this month. So I really was flipping through my collection, and it was actually when I saw the sample, the Sailor Mitsutama swatch in my swatch book, that's where everything started coming together. And I thought, you know what? I can do the Sailor Mitsutama. I can do the Sailor Manual Shirakashi. I was looking at the Urameko samples that I have from Ink Flight. And I do want to show, certainly inks change over time, but I did find it interesting. Let me just find the right page. That's the diamonds. Okay. So the Hana Gokuro is much darker in the swatch book than it is on this page. And I'm wondering if the ink sample has gone bad. I'm not sure, but I chose it because I thought this kind of bronzy orangey sheen that Hanagokoro has would work really nicely with the Waterman Koren Amber. So we'll see if this one lasts for the month. Um, Perhaps there's some residual water and it's diluted. I don't know. We'll see. I'm gonna keep an eye on that. But um, yeah, so that's why I chose the Hana Gokuro Suki Gokuro. It has this lovely greenish, bluish, tealish color to it. And then I knew that I wanted to use Birmingham Penco Blast Furnace for my black ink this month. And so I figured I'd pair that with my Sailor pen just to stay on theme. And then the Sailor 50 States New Hampshire was the last one that I selected. Obviously, I'm very happy to use it, but that will go on my vanishing point, which will be nice because I wanted to use this for September so that I could bring this with me as I'm moving around at work and be able to click and go. And that's a neutral enough color that I'm going to feel comfortable taking notes where in whatever environment I end up. So now let's look at the swatches on some different papers because I have those prepared. First and foremost, just sticking with Tomoe River paper, I have a Hobonichi Hone, and this has the new Tomoe River paper on it. And so here's the inks in comparison. I am looking really quick back and forth, and they look very, very similar. I'm not noticing any big differences. So that's Tomoe River paper. And then next up, I have bank paper. And looking back and forth, the bank paper maybe brings out a little bit more of the brightness in Sailor Mitsutama, but Shirakashi and Suki Gokuro look the same. Maybe there's a little bit more pink in the Hana Gokuro. New Hampshire looks exactly the same, and Blast Furnace looks the same. And then I've got Clairefontaine or Rhodia paper. And so looking side by side, Mitsutama looks darker on the Rhodia Clairefontaine paper. Also, Shirakashi, there's a little bit more of this really dark kind of greenish tealish. I think just generally as I'm looking down, everything looks just a shade darker on the Clairefontaine paper. And last, I have a Cosmo Air light book from Galen Leathercoats. It's another everyday notebook. Let me just tuck this underneath. I did make a mistake in the date. I wrote July. It is September. I noticed it right before I started to film, and so I just used my pen to quickly cross it out. Hopefully this looks okay. I am writing from a different angle than I did previously. So it might look a little off. That looks okay. That looks okay. All right, so on the Cosmo Air light paper, I will say I am loving these swatches on the Cosmo Air Light. So you've got this beautiful shading that comes out for the Mizutama. That's gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. And there's almost a pinky hint coming through as well. Shirakashi looks fantastic. It's again leaning a little bit teal, kind of like I was commenting on Suki Gokuro. It's a little teal coming out there, which is just amazing. Now the Suki Gokuro, that one is a whole different color. It is absolutely a different color on Cosmo Air Light than it is on Tomoe River. And you also, I'm not sure if the camera can pick it up, but right here, there's the red sheen coming through. And you don't really see that a whole lot on the Tomoe River paper. Hanagokuro, it's also a different shade of gray. You've got kind of a cooler gray versus this little bit more of a warmer gray, and that's kind of fascinating. Um, the 50 States, New Hampshire actually looks a little much more similar. This just is, it's looking more saturated because, in my experience, the way Cosmo Air or the way ink kind of lands on Cosmo Air, it's a little bit smoother of a surface. So I think it's a little bit more absorbent. And then the Birmingham Pen Co. Blast Furnace, you can see some of the shading properties come out because, again, the way that the ink lands on the paper. So that's lovely. I am excited to use all of these pen and ink combinations for the month of September. I really enjoyed doing all of my summer note taking and things like that. I do have a lot more note taking to do because I have some books that I'm reading for my dissertation as well as for personal growth. So I'm excited to use all of these colors. I would not be surprised if I really start considering buying a bottle of Miss Utama, and I'm probably going to have to see how similar it is to Birmingham Pen Co. Distressed Leather and whether or not it's different enough to warrant buying a bottle. We'll see. Maybe I'll add it to a wish list for Christmas or things like that. But anywho, thank you for watching. If you made it to the end, I greatly appreciate it. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.